Hello, everyone. I am Marcus Trevetti here, back with another podcast episode. This time, I am interviewing former defensive back at Kansas State University, Coach Matthew Maschmeier. He now coaches at Naperville North, and he played in the Sugar Bowl against Alabama. And one of the hardest workers I know, one of my favorite coaches, and teaches me dedication, whether it be in football or just life in general, academics, and just how to be a leader. Coach Mash, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful. What a wonderful introduction, Marcus. It's probably the best I've ever gotten in my career. I'll tell you that. So I appreciate that, man. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, just so we're comfortable with where you came from and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up. I'm a Lisle native. I grew up in Lisle. Went through the Naperville school system. Played for Naperville North. Was a lacrosse. Played a little bit of basketball up until my junior year, and then was a four 4 year football player, 4 year lacrosse player. Picked up lacrosse in high school. Played for Coach Minaj. It was a true pleasure, and then obviously played for Coach Schrendel and a lot of our coaching staff that are still on staff right now, which is really cool to be a part of now as I've changed my career into a football coach. So very excited to be a part of.
Yeah. And you also have a family history in football. So
I
I'd like to
do.
tell
I
us a
do.
little bit about that.
I had a cousin play over at Elmhurst. Um, Played Division III football at Elmhurst. I had my dad played at Notre Dame back in the 70s with Rudy and Dave Casper, Joe Montana, won on a national championship in 73. So something I like to boast about, very proud of within our family. If you have ever met my dad, then you know he's a big donor. So yes, like you said, big family history in football. Live it, love it, embrace it every day.
All right. And now for your Kansas State part. So you weren't originally like this. I mean, you did play varsity as a sophomore. You were a two-way player. You were on the news and stuff. But again, like you weren't some like big time five-star recruit. You had to work your way there. You were a walk-on at Kansas State, a preferred walk-on, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot since those recruiting days, as you know. It's
Yeah.
not the easiest of tasks, but I felt like Kansas State really embodied kind of who I was at that time. Like you said, I wasn't a 5 star. I wasn't. I don't even think I was rated as any star at that point. I was an all-state guy. I was an all-conference guy, a conference MVP, but never got that national recognition. I feel like that was kind of what embodied Kansas State. Is they were never that school that was that national recognition, but they put hard work and discipline, mix that together, and they always produce a really good football team. And I was just grateful to be a part of that, and grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it.
Yeah, and the best part about it is that you left Kansas State being a winner. I mean, you won the Big 12 championship, got to the Sugar Bowl. Obviously, Naperville North is a winning football program almost every year under Coach Drendel. Uh, how does football impact your life, and what are the lessons that you take for it in your everyday life now?
Yeah, you know what? I'm super grateful for football. And I learned this, I would say, through going through the interview process for jobs. Right when my football career was over, is kind of when I really saw the difference it made in my life, from a discipline, a commitment, and accountability, um, teamwork. Right, those are just a few of many things that football covers. Right, that translates into the real world. So I really noticed that in that process of applying for jobs. So I didn't really have too much time to, like a normal student would be partaking in a summer internship. I didn't really have the time to do that. I was out training back in Manhattan, Kansas all summer. When I didn't have many breaks, maybe even through the winter. That still didn't get a chance to do anything from an internship perspective. So um, when I was in those job interviews, I really felt like it was important that I shared. I spent a lot of long days, right? Our fall camp, our spring ball, like those were days that were consistently between 6 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m., whether that's balancing a lift, meetings, football practice, right? And then school, of course, right? And then studying and whatever's going on during that week, right? And it's different, obviously, between spring ball when you're in classes and fall camp when you're not. But being able to sit down at a meeting, right, taking good notes, is something that prepared me, right, as I got into the job world and into the real world. Like working an 8-hour day at my daily job, right, is no problem for me, right? I've spent plenty of days at the office, right, at the football facility, at the office for 12 plus hours. So 8-hour day isn't much for me. And I'm grateful for the impact that especially Naperville North football left on me, and now obviously Kansas State as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the biggest thing I think that you could take away from football, like you said, is that it prepares you for those long shifts and it makes you a hard worker, regardless if you want to or not. And honestly, you're a big person when it comes to hard work. You're an example. I know you echo that to every player, echo that to the rest of the coaching staff to emphasize on putting in your 100% effort. I mean, even when we're going through playing series and you see me and I look like I'm struggling, you tell me, Marcus, you can do better than that. You could keep on going. So I think you really know how to drive in on that dog in everyone. And it's not even football, though. It's also just life in general. So what would you say is your biggest advice to someone who wants to work hard in academics, wants to work hard in their sport, but doesn't know how to balance it and can learn how to balance those qualities?
Well, I'll be the first one to admit, right? I was never the best at time management. That's all I heard in high school, right? Time management, time management. You got to have good time management, right? All that boils down to, right, is having great discipline, right? Having great accountability. Can you look yourself in the mirror, right? And admit to my mistakes, admit to my failures, right? And be humble through my successes. Life isn't easy, right, Marcus? It's not, right? And where you're at, right, as you become a junior next year, right? It's not going to get easier, right?
Yeah,
What are you
and
doing? You're taking the ACT, you're
yeah,
taking the SAT, you're
ACT,
taking
honors
FAFSA.
classes, AP
Exact
classes.
AP classes, absolutely. It's not meant to be easy, right? It's supposed to be challenging, and you shouldn't want it any other way, right? Because when life gets easy, right, then you're going down the wrong path, right? You want those challenges. You want to develop as a player, right? But you also want to develop as an individual and as a scholar, right? So if you don't have those challenges in front of you, right, you're going down the wrong path.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna lighten the mood up a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your favorite locker room story, whether it be high school, middle school, uh, like youth football? Just
Yeah,
like
you know what? And it kind of, I guess, snowballs what I was just talking about. Honestly, some of the best memories, obviously, we're celebrating wins. Those are always amazing. But some of the most like memorable memories that I ever had was some of the runs that were the worst, right? Or some of the
Mhm.
workouts that I was like, why am I doing this? Like, this is terrible. Like,
I agree.
I hate my life right now. This is not enjoyable. But those are the moments that like bring you together. And I promise you, like when I go back for K-State events and I see former teammates, like it's not like, hey, do you remember when we played, so and so, or you remember when we won this game? Yeah, those come into conversation, but the majority is, hey, do you remember that run when so and so like passed out or was about to pass out and was struggling and we were all laying in the locker room for an hour and we couldn't get up, and just those types of memories. It was going through those hardships and those challenges together that really created that brotherhood, because when you struggle with those people around you that you can be vulnerable with, right, they boost you up and they define who you are as a team but also as an individual. And so for me, those were kind of the most memorable moments. And I know it's not anything fun or funny, but those were the ones that really meant the most to me.
No, I completely agree. I mean, those are my favorite parts too, to be honest. Like, and it was, I mean, before I met you, I'm like, why are we doing so many planks? Why do we have to do this much core? And then I also hurt my back, so then I kind of realized why we have to do that much core as well. But
Exactly.
I mean, you kind of installed in my head that like this stuff should be fun and you should take pride in wanting to put your hardest work in the off season because that's what makes the regular season easy.
Absolutely. Right. We
And it
practice
goes
every
for
day. We practice every day, right,
It
to
goes
make
for
Fridays
literally
easy.
anything, everything, even outside again, like outside
Mhm.
of football. It goes for your academics, for your job,
Mhm.
internships, like you said. But yeah, I mean, the sport of football has really impacted anyone that plays it. But
It's like
um,
no other. I'll
yeah,
tell you that. I've played growing up plenty of sports. There's no sport like football when it
yeah,
comes to life values and stuff like that. There's great things you can learn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to down any sport, but so there's something special about football, and I think you're coming to that realization as well, which is awesome to see.
Yeah. And just for a little bit of background, can you share like some of the more notable players that you've played with or played against so people can be more familiar with your timeline and like how
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
learn from
So
those guys when we see them on national TV now?
yeah, so I entered Kansas State in the summer of 2020 during COVID, which was a very interesting year to be a part of college football. Right, didn't know if we were going to play, when we were going to play, what that was going to look like. So that was the only year that we didn't have a winning record that I was over there. But I graduated in 24. My last football season was in 23. So I played for 4 years. I had amazing teammates that I got to share the field with. Some of those guys that like you talked about, right? Those are guys that you're going to see on Sundays, and you still do, right? Got guys like Deuce Vaughn, obviously was a fan favorite. Felix Anudike, first-round draft pick to the Kansas City Chiefs. Julius Brents, corner, currently with Miami Dolphins. We've got Josh Hayes and Jacob Parrish are both the Tampa Bay as defensive backs. Russ Yeast has bounced around the league. I don't remember exactly where he's landed. I know he's been with Carolina and the Texans. He might currently be with the Texans, but did a really great job when he was in LA a couple of years ago, right out of the gate as a rookie in his second year. KT Levinson is an offensive lineman, starter for the Cleveland Browns. So he's in front for Shador over there in Cleveland. Trying to think of some other guys. Don't want to leave some guys out, but I had some special guys. Skylar Thompson, Will Howard, both over in Pittsburgh as backup quarterbacks to Aaron Rodgers, which is pretty neat. Obviously, Will going on to Ohio State. We were a big fan of Ohio State last 2 years ago when they won the national championship. So that was really cool to, be a friend of his and a teammate of his and see him have that success, even though it wasn't in purple. So I'm probably forgetting some guys. But what an incredible honor to be a part of that time. Being a Big 12 champion, playing Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, playing some great teams in the Big 12, playing in some great bowl games, right, against Alabama, playing against LSU with some really, really cool experiences. But guys that I played against, right, talking especially Alabama, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Kool-Aid, Xavier Worthy, Texas, right? There's definitely guys I'm leaving out there Harvey from there's so many guys now that I think about it. Probably can't list all of them. I know the Green Bay Packers, I think majority of the receiving core I played at some point, whether that was Jaden Reed in high school. Dalbs, I think I ended up playing. Didn't, at the time, didn't know who he was. And, he's been a big asset for them. And Matthew Golden, different guys on that. It's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the Big 12, and I think it gets overshadowed by the Big 10 and SEC. But there's some good ball players out of the Big 12, and it was an honor to be a part of that conference and get to have the teammates and, go against and compete against some of the best that we see on Sundays.
Yeah. Jaden Reed, he was a legend at Naperville Central. But, Coach Mash did lock him up in high school. So
that was all Bo Richter, man. That was all Bo Richter in his first season of football. Look at where he's at, man.
Yeah, Minnesota Vikings defensive end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so cool that you played with all these guys and that you were a part of it. But what I take away the most is not even the fact that you played with these guys, is that the fact that you remember as many names as possible and all your teammates, you remember where they are. And you know what that shows? That shows that you still have the connection with them and that it's not just about playing 4 years of your life with the team. And
Absolutely.
It's regardless of what you do. Again, I mean, I know we're specifically talking about football today, but literally anything you do, if it means that much to you, you remember where guys go on from and
Absolutely.
where they go in their future. So,
and relationships matter, and I think that's the most important part, right? These are your brothers for life. And I'd be horrible to also mistake in this one. Ben Sinnott, I can't forget him, right? Washington Commanders. We both came in as walk-ons. He was a little guy. Let me tell you, he was a 210-pound walk-on coming out of Waterloo, Iowa, and ends up being a high draft pick for the Washington Commanders and gets to play, alongside Zach Ertz and with Jaden Daniels, and pretty cool to have guys like that, right? And that was something I always admired about my dad and his time at Notre Dame. All their alumni stuff and all the opportunities that they put together to go play golf or meet up for a game. It's just something special, and I really look forward to being a part of that and doing that at K-State. And as I keep rambling on, I keep thinking more players. Cooper Beebe, starting center, Dallas Cowboys. Sorry, that one just popped in my head. But again, to your point, right? Relationships. It's really cool to have those guys, call away and get to kind of just share those memories whenever we get the opportunity to be together.
Yeah, it just shows the connection, regardless. Now I know obviously you were focused on football and working hard, getting time on the field at Kansas State, a pretty great program in the Big 12. But what was the college experience like? Because obviously a lot of people tuning in, they're probably getting ready for college, whether they're playing a sport or not, and just trying to figure out and map out the next chapter of their life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a unique experience more so on the, being a collegiate athlete portion of it, no matter what level. It takes a lot of commitment and time and time management, right? And as we discussed, I was not great at that, and it was something I had to become really great at. But from the experience, it's great, man. It's an opportunity to get to meet people and learn a different perspective of life, right? I went from a community of 150,000 people, surrounded by 5 high schools in the area and a wonderful downtown area, to going to a place out in 2 hours outside of Kansas City, surrounded by the plains and the hills, like 50,000 people, man. It's like, and half of that is the student population. So it was a culture shock. It's a culture change, no matter where you go. But it's a great opportunity to meet people outside your bubble, right? You kind of get used to and you get comfortable with the people that you're surrounded with and you grew up with. But it's a great opportunity to meet some people that maybe you never thought you crossed paths with. And I think that was the most unique part and why I really am ecstatic with my decision of becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And putting myself in that position to go somewhere that, I was 10 hours away from home. I had to challenge myself as a young man, right? To become a little independent, right? I've become very reliant. I grew up in a great home with my mom and dad and my siblings. And, it was a whole different lifestyle out there. And I really am appreciative of it. I thought I grew as a man, and it's not easy. It's not going to be easy, but I'll tell you that, you're in a great position because Naperville North is going to prepare you, right? It's a highly regarded district for a reason, right? And to me, when I got to college, I felt way more prepared than I would say my peers. So if you continue to grind and put the work in, I promise you'll see great things out of it.
Yeah, it teaches you how to expand your people skills, expand your communication skills, which
Absolutely.
outside of just having your common knowledge and your book smarts, it's one of the most important things to be smart in and just be able to have. So
that's the best part about college, man. It's the social aspect. Yeah, obviously it's important to get your degree and get your paper, right, as you can move on and work towards a better life, right? But it's super important, right, that you get to meet people. Like I said, get out, be uncomfortable, right? Maybe you love talking with people, maybe you don't, right? But it's a great opportunity to meet these people that come from so many different cultures and hometowns that you never thought you'd know a guy from Wichita, Kansas, and here I am, right? And one of my best friends is from Wichita, Kansas, or Topeka, Kansas, right? I never would have had that experience if I didn't go to Kansas State. So I'm super grateful for those opportunities, and I'm super grateful for the opportunity to just go out and be social and get to know these people that have very unique lives, and you get to hear their testimony and hear how they live their life, and it changes your perspective, right? We have this mantra in Naperville, right? It's a very well-known area, right? But you hear the stories about some of these kids that come from small town Kansas, right? That work in the cattle yards. Like it's really cool, right? To see their perspective on life versus our perspective, because it's very different. But we get trapped in this bubble, and you never understand it until you start having those conversations.
Yeah. What's it like now after being at Kansas State, being out and about, being young, and then coming back to Naperville to coach now? And
Honestly, I never thought I would come right back. I always had a conversation with Coach. I always kept in touch with him, right? It was something that I knew that if I found the right job, it was something I really wanted to be a part of again, was be a part of his program and coach in any way I could. Football meant a lot to me, and his program meant a lot to me, like we talked about earlier, right? Talking about life lessons and those values and those morals that were developed under this great game and under this great program. So honestly, my intentions weren't to come back. I always dreamed of being a college football coach. I'd say throughout high schools when I started having that vision. But I fell in love with the high school football and coaching at this level. It's a unique opportunity, right? Like there's a lot of great kids that you get to see their vision, right, and help guide them towards that, right? And it's a very unique perspective. And I looked at opportunities at the college level after I started coaching here, and I just fell in love with being a part of this program and being a part of this staff and working with the young men like yourself, right, that keep me going every day. Because I'll tell you, it was a rough patch when I first got home and I didn't have football in my life. I didn't know what to do with myself, right? I didn't have hobbies. I spent all my time at K-State, meetings, football, recovery, lifting, running, whatever it may be. And that was difficult to process, right? I kind of came home, I go play golf with my dad, and that was about the only hobby I had. But I called Coach Strindle up and I asked him, I said, I'd love to, if I got a job that allows me to be part of this, if you want me to be part of it. And he gave me the keys and let me drive the Porsche, and here we are today, man. So I'm super grateful. It wasn't the path I thought I was going to go on, but I'm super grateful for where I'm at now. And I'm just honored and blessed to be a part of this program and get to impact young men like yourself and the rest of your peers.
Yeah, it's the only thing is, you're teaching great kids, you're coaching great kids, but at the same time, obviously you can't teach motivation, but you can encourage it. And there's people that need motivation in high school. It's not like college where everyone has their full plans like figured out. It's like colleges, it's like the climax. That's what everyone dreams about and reaching to. Versus high school, it's like you're still there and you need to figure out what do, and everyone's in a different situation. So, and I feel like you're one of the better people at helping people guide their paths, whether they're lost or not, and just giving them direction as well.
Yeah, I think you totally hit it. I'd say that the college game has lost the development aspect of it, right? That's why I really appreciated my time at Kansas State, because at the time that I was there, and I would still say it still holds on to it, but it was a developmental program, right? Like they took in freshmen and they developed us. And, you see a lot of our guys had success because they stuck to it. They didn't transfer, right? They stuck to it no matter how difficult it got. And that's what I appreciate I think most about the high school game is you guys aren't perfect, right? You don't think you're perfect either, but you're vulnerable enough to say, hey, I need to get better, right? And I want to be that person to help you to get better, right? Whether that's in football or in life or in the classroom. However I can do that, making that impact is what makes an impact on me too, right? So that's where I think I found that love for high school coaching over that collegiate. I think it's awesome for those that do it. It's a grind. I have seen it firsthand. But I'm happy where I'm at because I love where the high school football game is, and I love where our program's at, and we're in the direction that we're headed towards.
Exactly. What do you have to say about all the changes that happened in college, really, like right after you left when NIL started becoming a thing, the transfer portal, where it's kind of becoming like a professional league now, how it's treated.
It's crazy. I think everyone feels that way, to be honest with you. My second year as a sophomore was it was July 1st, I think, of 2021, when they finally announced that, NIL was going to become a thing. So, being in the locker room at that point, it was just kind of like, oh, it's just another day, right? Didn't know where this was going to go and to the extent of it. And it's sad to see that there's not much governance of everything. And I'm all for it, right? Like I wasn't a guy that got paid, but there's a lot of value, right, that these guys bring to these institutions, to the media, right? So I definitely think they should be paid. I think there probably should be some type of cap to it. But it's crazy the direction it's gone in just the last, 5 years now. I never pictured it to be this way. And then on top of that, you've got the transfer portal, which is a whole another story. But it's pretty crazy to see, going from my first experience as a freshman during COVID and not even knowing if we were going to play to, guys making millions and millions of dollars doing it. So pretty wild.
I agree. And I mean, it's came with a lot of stuff that people don't like. It's came with a lot of non-benefits, I guess is the best way to put it, where roster spots are being cut. It's harder day by day to go Division I. I mean, I know back in the day, like you could get into a college as a preferred walk-on. You could even get a scholarship as just being a gritty guy and not having amazing measurables, which was kind of what you had. You had all the grit in the world, but it's not like you were like 6'5" or anything or weighed 285 pounds. But
absolutely.
and nowadays
that's the
it's
worst
like,
part of it.
yeah, in order to be like an offensive lineman, you have to be 6'5" at least, and you have to weigh over 300 pounds to go D1. So, but you know what? It does open up opportunities to build yourself up if you go to D3, D2, JUCO, if sports is what matters the most to you. But I think also a good part of it is that it allows people to focus on like, hey, maybe I need to view the academic part of my life and put more emphasis on that too.
Absolutely. And I think the best part, I think you hit it on the nail, right? There's so many great opportunities at levels like that, right? At Division III, Division II, there's some great institutions that you can get a degree from, and you have a great alumni base. If there's anything I can recommend for you, right, is finding an institution that's got a great alumni, right? Because as you're looking for jobs, right, those people are going to lean towards obviously your credentials, and that's going to be your degree, right? But also, hey, you went to so-and-so? I did too. And I know there's great people developed at that school. Your resume, right, might be taken up and put at the top, right, for consideration. So that would be my advice to you or anybody. But I think you hit it on the nail, right? It's sad to see where it's come for recruiting on your end. Where I was at, I was offered a scholarship to play at Illinois State, and I had walk-on offers at K-State, Iowa, and Louisville, and those were probably the top 4 schools I was looking at, right, when it came down to signing day. And where I'm at now, I'm grateful, right? I told you that earlier. I wouldn't change a thing, but if I was in your shoes now and I was in that same situation, I'm taking the full scholarship. I'm going to take the money because I'll promise you, coming out of college with that is not fun. It isn't fun. When your first 12 paychecks are going back to the government, it's not fun, right? All that hard-earned money you made, it ain't fun when you have to send that back. But I think it's a great opportunity for some of these young kids to understand, right, that there's more to it, right? Like you said, than just football, right? There's some great academic institutions, and guess what? If you perform really well and football or whatever sport you're doing means a lot to you, you can always work back up, right? This day, if you put film out there in whatever sport you're at, some bigger school is going to come find you, right? So there's plenty of opportunity. It's sad to see where we're at from a high school recruiting perspective. I think you're totally right on that. But again, you hit it on the nail, right? There's so much opportunity at some of these lower divisions that some kids maybe looked past years ago, but are now starting to see the beauty in it.
Yeah. And when you talk about connections and applying to schools that have great former alumni showing great development, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of these interviews, is to show people that I have the capability of interviewing people like you. I interviewed Neil Hartman, who's who's a former Emmy-winning sportscaster, to show that I have these connections. And obviously, the industry I want to go to, I think everyone and their mother knows this, is being a sports broadcaster, the sports media industry. So, and getting these interviews with coaches, players, former broadcasters, people in sports media, I feel like shows that it's trying to build these connections for life, really.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? They're going to tell you in college, network. So it's unbelievable that you're doing that at the age that you're at, because I promise you I was not doing that. So Continue to keep doing what you're doing, because that's what it's all about, man. The more people you get to know, you never know what opportunity lies on the other side, right? They might be offering you a job someday, which would be incredible, right? But you never know until, again, like we talked about in the college perspective of things, right? Go be social, right? Get to know some people, because they might know somebody that knows somebody that works at ESPN or works at Fox Sports, right? Or CBS, wherever you would love to go to, man, you never know who that person might know or might be related to. So, man, it's all about
Exactly.
conversations and getting to know people and network with people.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I can take away is even from high school, be at places where you're gonna benefit out of something, even if you don't know people there or even if you don't like the people there. I mean, I obviously played football 2 years before going into high school. I was dedicated about football last off season. I still am. I love the sport. Uh, and obviously I was gonna go to the winter lifts no matter what, but had I not gone to the winter lifts or something, I wouldn't have built the connection with you. You wouldn't have seen how hard I worked or how much I wanted to chase after what the seniors were chasing after last year. So I mean, and the connection I made with you is great. Like it's all about networking. Like you said, it's all about networking. It's all about building those connections and being where you know you can benefit from somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, last but I mean, now that we're talking about the broadcasting aspect of everything in the media, and now that I feel like media is entering for high school, whether it be sports or just showing school culture, and obviously college, you played under those lights in high school, college, you know what it's like. How were you able to mentally prepare knowing that there were so many people watching you or that someone important could always be watching you?
I think it's a great question. I think it's a question that's asked very often to a lot of people. And I think a lot of people would say the same thing. Um, you don't really notice it, right? You're so locked in on your opponent, on the game plan, and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it was amazing, right? Getting the opportunity to play in front of 100,000 people at UT Austin, right? And at the University of Texas, playing in front of, I think it's 70 or 80,000 in Norman at Oklahoma. We're playing at Stillwater, at Oklahoma State, or playing at Texas Tech at AT&T. Like, you know, even the opportunities I get to play at NFL stadiums, like it's surreal. It's amazing, right? But you got to be where your feet are. And I think with the preparation and the details that come with it, you honestly, you just kind of don't think about it, right? You're
Exactly.
so focused and disciplined on the game plan and achieving the team goal of coming out with a W that Saturday or that Friday night, right? That you kind of look past it. But it's a great question because it's true, right? I mean, it's when you really sit back and think about it, there's, maybe Big 12 championship. I don't know what the viewership was, but for example, right, there might be 6 million people watching. And we're playing at AT&T Stadium down in, Arlington. And, there's 50, 60, maybe 70,000 people there watching us. But, again, to me, you're playing a backyard sport, right? Just like we did when we were younger. So you don't think as much about it when you're really disciplined and focused on the game plan and being where your feet are. But it was truly humbling and an honor to be a part of that because that's why I pushed to go to Kansas State, right? My dad won a national championship, and to me, I wanted to play big-time football, and I wanted to play on TV. And there was plenty of games where I texted Coach Rendell, and I said, this is why, right? This is my why. This is why I wanted it. This is why I made this decision to go play at Kansas State because I wanted to play in games where we're playing on Saturday night against Oklahoma and they're ranked number 3 or whatever it was in the country, and we're beating them on their home field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Storylines like that, winning a Big 12 championship, right? Those are the reasons why, right? So it's a wonderful question, but honestly, you kind of think past it when the mission's
Yeah.
the mission, and you got to get after it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's kind of where you're playing, you're focused on your game plan, you're focused on everything that it's the whole preparation for a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's playing a game's like a test, but it should be the easiest part because you've been studying for it the whole week
100%.
in all different ways in the weight room, actually being on the field, in the film room, so in the locker room or in the what do you call it in the staff room, just
Mm-hmm.
training and making
Yeah.
sure you're healthy and taking care of your body. But the biggest thing is focus on what's in front of you, like you said. And I feel like once that's processed, it's all the extra fan noise is just an added on thing to make it all the more better experience.
Absolutely. And I think, from a school perspective, right, if you're giving a speech, right, you should be preparing like no other so that come that Friday afternoon, right, 6 hour, you got to give that speech. you're not worried about people judging you or how you sound or whatever like that, because you've done it so many times, right? That you've perfected your craft, that there is no worry, right? Someday when you're on CBS, right, calling the game or calling the Masters, let's say, right? I don't know if you're into golf, but you're calling the Masters.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler is about to make that putt, right? Like, you're not thinking about all those people that are listening, tuned into you, are you? You're not, right? You're in the zone, man. You're locked in on accomplishing your mission, right? So, you know what? Not only does it apply in sports, but it applies in life and in school. You know, there's so many aspects. And again, that's why I'm super thankful to be in the position that I am right now but I wouldn't be without, you know, my family, my friends, the Naperville North football program. There's a lot of thank yous I can give, but they prepared me for moments like that, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, your analogy was great. It's like you got to focus on what's live, what's the one thing that you're zoned in on, and perfect that to your best. But obviously, we talked perfection. I think both of us are perfectionists where we want everything to go our way, go perfect. But it's also sometimes hard to understand that mistakes happen and that you have to move on from them.
It's the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Not me,
And
not anyone. Nobody's perfect.
you know what? The most important thing is when you make those mistakes. I think what's more important is that you learn from them. I mean, what I personally I've started to learn that, like, and I'll put it in football terms. If you get 3 pancakes in a row, I feel like it's more important if you miss a block, you miss a linebacker read, but then the next play you read it, but it's just a standard block. There's nothing pretty. And but you know what? Your quarterback's able to complete the pass for a 20-yard play instead of when those 3 pancakes happen, you get 3-yard rushes all those 3 times. I think the more important part is just learning from that mistake and making what your weakness is strength.
Absolutely. And again, you hit it on the nail, right? I think with football, we really represent that because we spend so much time in the film room, right? Diagnosing the wrongs and the mistakes that we made in the game, and coming back the next week. There's nothing more fulfilling, right? When you missed your gap, right? From a defensive perspective, right? You're supposed to shoot your gap. That should be your tackle for loss, and you miss it, right? But you studied the film, right? You're accountable to yourself. You look yourself in the mirror and say, I got to be better. How am I going to be better? Right. And come that next week, or maybe it's in the Big 12 championship. Maybe it's playing for a national championship and you get that same read and you go make that play. Right. There's nothing more fulfilling about that. And I think, again, right, to our point of how special football is, it teaches you so much more about life. Right.
Yeah,
And those are things you can apply to your sports broadcasting career, but anybody listening, right? Anything that they do in their life, right, is being accountable to themselves, being able to diagnose those strengths and weaknesses, and how can I change those things for successes.
Yeah, it treats you with also the fact that there's always pressure, and like obviously with football, like I mean, if you mess up on one play, one opportunity, there's a good chance that you don't get that opportunity back, especially at the collegiate level. I mean, for
Absolutely.
example, if you're in a blue and orange scrimmage with someone, or just offense versus defense scrimmage in the spring game, and you jump off sides, you're probably getting pulled off to the sidelines, and someone else is getting that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about making sure that every rep should be how the coach wants it or how it should look ideally. But yeah, I mean, I think we had a really good conversation here. Is there any more notes that you want to add? Any more advice that you want to give?
No, I mean, I think you brought up some great points, asked some great questions. You know, life isn't easy, and I think you know that. We all know that. But to continue to live your mission. The mission's the mission. Be where your feet are. Right. Diagnose those strengths and weaknesses. Be accountable to yourself. Be disciplined. And I promise you'll have a successful life. Right. If you could do those things, no one can tell you can't. Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that will, but when you are a good person, right, like yourself, and you're determined and you're willing to put in the work, right, the sky's the limit. So, Marcus, I appreciate your time, man. I thank you for allowing me to be a part of this, and then being allowed just to be a part of your life and be a mentor to you. It's special to see your growth from last year to this year. And as you continue on, I can't wait to see where this career goes for you. And I'm excited to see you on CBS or ESPN or Fox Sports, hopefully in the next coming years after college, right? Because you were going to college.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. Wonderful.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you for also taking your time out of the schedule. I know you're a pretty busy guy, but at the same time, I just hope that everyone's watching can take away that what me and Coach Mash talked about is stuff that you can apply to your lives, because I sure as heck know that we're both going to always try to work on our mistakes and apply what we talked about today to our future.
Yes, sir. You got it, man.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back with some more interviews later.